Let's do this.
Yes, please.
I'm almost scared to be here after all the previous sessions on corporate and CSR sort of, let's say, disagreements that have happened in the audience. But I think this is a good topic about partnerships and what it really means to have joint impact as we see it. Accenture, probably some of you know, is a management, technology, outsourcing, digital strategy organization. And we're present in over 120 countries. I think what we're most proud of is really what we call our corporate citizenship agenda. And specific to this topic, our mandate is called Skills to Succeed. But what does it take, and why did Quest and us get together? So we really met, I think, about eight years ago? Yeah, about 8 years ago. And the common goal and vision is really what prompted this partnership. It was about leveraging technology, for impact, and that was our starting point. So, we had this global goal that we set up, and this was way before the 2% mandate, I would like to add, that we said we'd really like to skill people to be able to get a job or to start a business. So it wasn't just about the output. It was, that was important, skilling, and to look at how we were reaching greater numbers. But we were also equally clear that our focus was on the outcome, which was, do they get a job as a result of our training, or do they start their own business? And for us, and that's our strength, we understand technology. So one of the key drivers for us, or one of the key levers for us, was to look at how can we embed technology in the interventions that we take part in. Also, we believe as consulting organizations that we can help people build skills. So what we did for our clients was what we wanted to extend to the social sector. And that's really how this common goal in terms of looking at skills training, technology and skills training, was what prompted us to partner with Quest. You want to?
Sure, I'll just add a little bit. Good morning. Quest was started in 2005 with the main goal of looking at 21st century skills for young people who really come from a broken education system, who need that shift from, I cannot do something, to really I can drive my own learning process. And in doing that, what we realized that a lot of good organizations are out there doing great work. What, especially in the vocational sector, what they really lack is probably the ability to scale their work and scale it while maintaining a certain amount of quality. And to do that, we felt that we need to invest significantly in education technology, which can really change the game in terms of the teacher being sort of the sage on the stage and delivering everything, to the student being able to also have a responsibility to drive their own learning process by getting access to really materials, strategies, and systems that can really shift the focus from the teacher only to the student as well. So with that sort of thought process, Quest was working already with an existing bunch of nonprofits, helping them scale their programs. And that's where we got an email from Accenture back in 2008, I remember, saying that we are interested in working on technology and learning, and there aren't many organizations doing that right now in a systematic way. So can we start this conversation together? And I think we shared the common vision about what technology can really do, of course, without leaving the fact that it also needs a human touch. Technology can do a lot of things around access, around driving anytime, anywhere learning, around effectiveness, around measuring success, and so on. So I think that shared vision really drew us into spending that time and really growing together over the last 8 to 9 years.
Yeah. So I think that was the starting point, that there was a common vision. I think the project also, it was very important that we set up a strategy which was of course flexible and needed to go through changes. We were starting on something new. Way back then, skilling was still relatively nascent. Leveraging technology was relatively nascent. So we had identified sectors that had high potential for employment, in terms of in-demand jobs. And retail was identified as one of those, way back 8 years ago. And what we said was, and we asked Quest saying, should we just do this? Should we look at e-learning? And we jointly agreed that it may not be pure e-learning. We still had an audience or segment that we were addressing that may not be completely ready for it. There needed that to be that human intervention. So we looked at a blended learning curriculum. And I think we spent close to a year just developing the right content, the right kind of technology to support it. And that required patience on both our sides and continuous dialogue to make sure we had the program in place. So agreeing on what were going to be some of our key success measures as we started off. We started with that. We actually looked at skilling people through this blended learning program. And then having had some amount of scale in that, we then jointly agreed that let's also pilot unbundling some of our modules. So the program is holistic. It's got domain, it's got the retail course, it's got life skills or workplace readiness, and it's got English. And we said, should we, because we needed to do two things. We needed to, as we were scaling, find more partners. As we looked at scaling to, we are a pan-India program, but looked at scaling beyond what were our normal course of operations. And we found ourselves 4 years ago, actually looking at taking off the whole life skills English portion and saying, let's pilot, innovatively taking this to partners that were not historically our funded partners, or not necessarily even Quest partners. So we identified partners, NGOs who worked on the ground to look at leveraging this program or to, operationalizing it, just using some of those modules, life skills in English. The idea was, can we seed the use of technology in learning in an ecosystem which is not our immediately funded one, and then actually building a much stronger ecosystem? Once you have that, and you know that these are partners that are ready for it, then how can we continue to test newer, technology as we start scaling up? And, I'll come to that a little later. So I think the idea was that let's really look at innovation through technology coming in, but also impacting more and more partners within the ecosystem. You want to add something to that?
Yeah, I think, it's very easy to say technology and we'll change the learning outcomes and all of that. I think it's hard, and it's a change management it's change management. You need to be working with people's behaviors, attitudes, and change the way they think about learning and the baggage they carry about how learning should really be and what it means for a young person to learn. So a lot of work actually goes into working with facilitators and therefore targeting the facilitators first as learners and helping them understand what an alternative learning reality looks like, where students are equally participating in that process, needs to be sort of the core of the effort. And that's something we discovered very early on, that we cannot just go in and digitize content and put it, but really it's the facilitator who makes this learning happen, and therefore we need to target the facilitator first as a learner, give them access to digital tools, make them believe in the possibility of blended learning by experiencing it themselves, and before you really put it out to the learner. So I think that focus really helped us change mindsets and really scale the model with almost 150 different training institutes that we currently work with, almost 80 ITIs that are currently part of our network who really use this approach of blended learning. And I think it's also not saying that we can do it all ourselves. I think it needs that approach to partner with the educational institutes. It needs to have a strong partnership element with the employer network and getting them access to all the young people out there, and the young people being able to tell their own stories to these employers as well, and not just us going and saying, let's just do this matching. It's really the institute and the employer getting to know each other through various forms of interactions. You need to have continuous sort of upgrade of content. There's a myth that, you know, once you produce content, it's all good and you can roll it out. You just need that process of continuously upgrading your content and engaging experts in doing that. And I think that's what's really worked for us is having that ecosystem approach with partnerships and not saying we can do it all ourselves.
Yeah. I remember a conversation when we first started within a few months where, one of the partners, our historical classroom learning sessions, and we'd told Quest, let's introduce you to them, and why don't you go and try the program with them? And one of the first conversations when we were, sort of doing a quick check in terms of how's the program going was, trainers are completely resistant to change. And I think it's the joint understanding that that is going to happen, and we need to factor that in. I heard the words ROI, being said in the earlier session. I think ROI gets defined very differently when you're in the social sector, and it's really about change, and the delta may be that small or the delta may be that big, and that's the patience that you need. So that one program was going nowhere. I mean, but the trainers were resistant, and I think we had to do a joint session. Ask Quest, that NGO partner, their trainers, all to talk about how we all need to be patient, because we were introducing technology, we were trying to bring in something innovative, and there was nothing that was going to magically change and happen overnight. So I think that understanding of saying, Quest can reach out to us and tell us this is not happening, us understanding that yes, this is not happening, and jointly finding a solution is really also, whether you have technology or you have any other kind of partnership, I think it's important to recognize that that's really what impact eventually will, sort of throw up as, obstacles, in which you've got to overcome. But I think it's good to know that there is going to be evolution of this journey. I mean, now if we talk about our, we partnered with LinkedIn. So the role that maybe Accenture can do is really, as a corporate, bring in other corporates. Maybe we have them as our clients or our collaborators globally or in India. And so the LinkedIn partnership was great. LinkedIn has something called LinkedIn for Good. And we said, let's partner with them. The idea was to seed the idea of creating a professional digital identity, even for the students who come out of a vocational skills training program. I mean, all of us have LinkedIn profiles, so why not them? Yes, it's going to be a journey. LinkedIn employers are not jumping onto LinkedIn to find, first-time job seekers, but it is a journey that we all jointly agreed. And, we had the LinkedIn teams come here, work with Quest, 3,000 students trained, to creating that. 1,200, I think, actually created the identity. And we figured that there are, obstacles. We can't tag them for employers to even look at it. But it's, again, a partnership, to eventually understand that there will be impact, further down the line. We're now working on mobile learning. We're saying, can we take some of the trainings that we've in the past done within a classroom, and put it onto their phone. So even if it's English speaking, how do these students access continuous learning on their mobile phones? Everybody has a phone today. And that's the belief that we have. Quest has their ears to the ground. They believe it's right, and it's something that we, because of probably what we do with our clients in terms of continuously, looking at learning and technology. So I think that open dialogue in terms of saying, let's try this out. Let's pilot it. It may work, it may not, but it's something that you need to take a step towards. More importantly, it's not just about learning English. We hope that the mobile phone is something that we can really leverage in terms of building an alumni, an alumnus network that will continue to want to stay in touch and give us then metrics like how long did you stay in your job, after you graduated? Those are things that we're not able to track easily today. So is there a way to do that? Do you want to get upskilled? So will you continue to sort of stay on that mobile network because there are opportunities to upskill yourself? So, in summary, if I was to just look at what we believe are some of the key success factors, if I could call it, for a partnership that's he's not killed us yet or we've not killed them yet, for the last 8 years, is really about that trust and being very clear about the role that you play. They are the subject matter experts. They understand social impact. We're not those. We're enablers. And when we say we're enablers, I think we're very clear on that role. It's not just funding. I think that's easy enough, right, to check. And I know some may say, why don't you just do that and not, stop at that. But I think hopefully, and Akash will bear me out on this, it's about being enablers in terms of looking at that as our partnership as a true partnership. Understanding that we need patience, understanding that these things take time, listening to really what they have to tell us about what's working well or not working well. Looking at ourselves and saying, what can we do beyond funding? So we have a program called Pro Bono where our employees, and this is not volunteering, they are seconded because they're also subject matter experts. So if there is someone who knows how to build a learning management system and is doing it for clients, then they should be able to transfer those skills and build it for Quest. And Quest but understands what they need in the learning management system. So unless we partner together, there's never going to be an output that will really lead to true learning at the ground level. So I think that's one part from our side that we're clear about our role, that we're really the enablers. If we have employer connects, it's the success of the program that we bring in as many employers into the program to provide jobs for the students who get trained. And that's not something that we can put the pressure on Quest alone saying, how did you not get your outcome of placing these many people if we're not helping the program to be set up for success? I think building for scale, probably we started small, 500 people, but we said what is critical to get was the quality of the content, to look at the program. We then graduated in terms of adding people, in terms of building some more technology into it, and then the last part in terms of saying, let's now look at newer, innovative models of scaling up, right? I think that's what sort of helped our partnership over the last 8 years. From our perspective.
I think it's also about recognizing that we need to keep pushing each other to really go to the next level, and in order to go to the next level, we things like mobile learning or things like LinkedIn or coming down to data and data management really helps in just pushing us to keep the spark alive. I think just to summarize just couple of points which Kshitija mentioned, I think from a non-profit perspective, I think the first piece which was around building trust and really how do you build trust by being open and honest with each other and not being fearful of the fact that, oh, if I have failed at something, what will the other side say? And it's okay to fail and admit that failure up front and ask for help. So I think that's something that also in the first few years I think helped us get that piece going of knowing where we are coming from. The second piece of Accenture playing a key role in helping us plan for scale, whether it was technology, whether it was the data side, them working with us in doing it and not just saying do it next year, this is what the numbers we want. But also being involved in understanding who the learners are and going out there and interacting with them. And finally, I think it's the people who take what it takes to manage and to grow relationships and partnerships. And I think you wouldn't want to be in a partnership if you don't want to work with that person and be there because they bring a certain vision, and therefore I think right from the start, Kshitija, Ravi, Abhijit, who works for Quest, Ashutosh, and a lot of others who have really put their heart and soul into building that, and sustaining it is, I think, what matters. And you need to build it into your line items in your budgets, and not just say, you know, partnerships will grow just because we want it to grow. It's really the people who make it grow, and you need them to make it successful. So that's something to keep in mind as we sort of talk through the lessons learned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so questions, audience?
Colonel Subramanian retired. I happen to be the director for Rotary, if you've heard of this organization. We have taken up the challenge of getting 100% literacy in India by 2018, which is a dream which may not come true, but efforts are being made. To that extent, we have gone about. Unfortunately, what happens with us is we are not known in the corporate world. So what we, like what you brought in when it comes to the letter teach, it has got each meaning. I won't waste my time. Sometime personally we'll talk more in detail. Since you brought in the concept of e-learning and skill, vocation skilling, we are trying to look at, after teaching the basic in adult literacy, to give particularly the women in the rural areas an employment in vocational skill. To that extent, we do have a couple of skill units sponsored by us. Maybe we could sit on across and we discuss our views, and if you could help us, it'll be grateful.
Sure, why don't we take this offline and...
Just for early literacy.
We are with them, we have done that.
Okay.
That goes into...
Why don't we talk about this?
Just in the interest of time, request if we can, I mean, we have a lot of networking time during lunch and a lot more interactions then. Request if you could just keep it to specific questions right now. There are 3 more partnerships also waiting in the line. Thank you.
I want to know whether you are also promoting entrepreneurship besides getting jobs, to what extent?
Yes, we have a program that we work with urban and rural areas. Rural areas, we work with women in specific. So for example, in Satara, we have a business school for rural women. We train about 7,000 to 8,000 women a year. We have programs up in Gujarat, Rajasthan. And micro-enterprise training we do in the outskirts of the cities, where we train young people to be individual employers, and in turn employ other people. So yes, we do have that.
And just to add, we've also worked with Microsoft on building something called Build Your Business, which is an e-learning program, which we currently train various universities to start entrepreneurship clubs and initiate that process. So there's also that available. You can look it up.
Thank you so much, speakers. There you go. That was a live case study right in front of you, where they spoke about connecting the dots, filling the gaps, and ensuring that the plans are synergistic and collaborative. With that, I'm going to announce the next segment, where we have 3 speakers. We have Bhagya Rangachar. Bhagya is the founder and managing trustee of Children's Love Castles Trust, and has sustainably explored several technology education and experience models to grow and stabilize CLT as a thought leader in its space today. Prior to this, Bhagya spent over 15 years in the US in several roles in areas of technology, an experience which helped her evolve innovative, award-winning ways of bringing rich pedagogy alive to a large number of users in India. Joining her, we have Omar Wani. He brings in 15 years of experience from diverse functions, such as business planning, strategy, branding, and quality. Having worked with several organizations that include J&K Bank, Barclays, and SR Group, and the Hindustan Times, Omar has joined CLT to see through its scale-up and expansion plans. Do we have Bhagya and her team here?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So joining them, we have Manu Abraham Matthew, who's currently working as a senior executive CSR RMZ group of companies. He's completed an MPhil in social work from Christ University, and he's worked extensively in mapping social work perspectives in the CSR space. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the next segment.
Is this on? Good afternoon, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. My mind is a little blank right now because I